In questions 3 and 4, you're asked to look at correlation or correlation coefficient in the first instance. Now, rule of thumb is the closer it is to a dead straight line upwards, closer it is to +1. Now, that would be me giving you x and y values that totally map to a particular linear function. Now, obviously, when we look at real-world relationships, the relationship as we go down, this chart here, becomes progressively shakier and shakier. We say if there's a strong positive correlation, if it's between positive 0.75 and 10. That would mean the greater the level of x, the greater level of y. Now, obviously, as we go down the chart, we go to the moderate correlation, positive correlation. Moderate, or some evidence. For weak, between 0.25 and 0.5. Weak positive correlation between the variables. Once we get in the bracket of the 0.25 through to negative 0.25, we say there's really no correlation. Very, very hard to judge. And conversely, as we go through the negatives there, negative 1, 0 would be me giving you a graph of y is equal to negative 2x plus 1. You're going to have a straight downwards line. Going backwards up the chart there, we go through to a weak negative correlation. So we try to use the language in this chart as we explain the strength of relationship between the various variables we'll be looking at in this unit. So looking at question 3 proper now, you can see A would fit into the strong negative correlation. So what we can say is there's a great deal of strength between the variables. So as x increases, y does decrease. Now for B, moderate positive to perhaps even a strong positive. This would be in the area of about your 0.75. Clearly, as x increases, there is a relationship between y increasing. C, it's pretty vague. There's really nothing there you can say. You can see I've got a very positive value for y for a low value of x, and conversely, a very low positive value of y for a positive value of x. D is one of these dead straight ones, so as x increases, y does decrease. That would be towards the moderate to weak, and obviously strong to moderate negative in those cases. I'd now like you to go back to question 2A with the baby weight one. Now you can see with the baby weight one, that's a pretty strong positive correlation in my book, but we better double check it. To do that, we need the original data, not just the graphed data. So what I'm going to do now, as we did before for the two values, I'm going to go through into the stats and into those figures progressively. Doesn't matter the order, pair them up, and then fit in the line of best fit, correlation, coefficient, finding the value of R. So having entered all those figures, we go to Calc, regression, linear regression. I do want to see the formula, so I'll click on the Y1 and I'll smooth that up. So you can see there we end up with y is equal to 1.1x plus 2.60 and my linear regression of 0.82. Now that indicates that there's a strong positive correlation between the variables. So the older a baby is, the greater the weight will be. I'll just put that down into writing. Now just putting that down in writing now is my positive correlation between the two variables. So I state what this figure is telling me, and then I relate it to the question. In a test or an exam, that's 2 out of 3 because I haven't said how it relates to the question. So the older the baby is, the greater their weight will be. So the process, run the correlation coefficient, the statement, what it's telling you, and then relate it back to the original question.